Part 124. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1231. If that's the case, that would be great. I couldn't wait to tell her everything that happened these days. I looked at Cai Dai and said, "Nai Dai, you look so cute and powerful, how can you fall into a dream once? You can definitely fall asleep several times more." Kaidi rolled her eyes and said, "I can only enter Sister Tianxuan's dream once. After all, Sister Tianxian is so powerful that it is very difficult to enter her dream. Just once, at least I can see her." While I was talking to Nadia, a bald man in a suit walked towards us. "Are you Master Lu Sulu?" The bald man stepped forward and asked. "That's right." I nodded. The bald man introduced himself. He was the president of Tianfu University, and his surname was He. "Principal," he said to me, "Master Lu, Feng Minghai has told me the purpose of your coming. Since that incident happened, the whole school has been in panic. There are many students who have dropped out of school because of this incident. Moreover, some strange things have been happening in the school recently. More than one student reported that he saw a pale ghost in the school at night." After listening, I nodded and said, "Principal He, please take me to Fen Yingying's dormitory to take a look." Principal He quickly agreed. Soon, we arrived at building 1 of the girls' dormitory. Principal He pointed to the 4th floor of the dormitory building and said, "Fen Yingying's dormitory is on the 4th floor. Because of what happened, we sealed off the entire 4th floor." I nodded and entered the dormitory building. The entire building 1 is closed off to building 4. As for the other floors, there are still students living there. Principal He had greeted the dormitory administrator and the students in advance, so I went in directly. As soon as I entered the dormitory building, I saw several girls in pajamas coming out of the room. When they saw a boy entering the dormitory building, they were stunned for a moment, then ran away screaming. Cai Dai raised her little head and said, "He, that young lady just now has a really good figure." I stretched out my hand, knocked Cai Dai hard on the head, and said, "Can you be more reserved?" Shouldn't you be the one who should be reserved? I'm warning you. Don't look around with your eyes. I will tell Sister Tianxian and let her deal with you then." I shook my head helplessly, such a weird little guy. Principal He took us to the 4th floor. Along the way, many girls poked their heads out of the dormitory and looked at me up and down. Immediately there was a lot of discussion. "Is this the master we found? He looks so young. Not only is he young, but he's also so handsome. Wow, he's really handsome." I felt a little embarrassed hearing what these girls said about me. If that incident hadn't happened at home, I would probably have entered college, and then, like other students, I would have completed my studies, gotten married, and had children. However, God has destined me to take this path, and I can only continue to walk on it. We came to the 4th floor. Compared with the bustle on other floors, it seemed deserted. Principal He led us to the door of a dormitory. I pushed the door open, and a burst of yin energy poured out, and I shuddered subconsciously. Around me, the dormitory was in a mess, tables and chairs collapsed, all kinds of cosmetics scattered on the floor. It was very messy. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1232. I turned my gaze to the balcony and frowned instantly. The negative energy on the balcony was very heavy. I walked towards the balcony and pushed open the balcony door. My eyes were instantly attracted by the small wooden sign on the ground. I squatted down and carefully observed the small wooden sign. There is a person's name and birth date on the wooden sign. Moreover, the overall color of this wooden sign is blood red, with blood stains on it. I can already imagine Fen Yingying cutting her wrists and feeding the little ghost. Raising imps, I have heard of this kind of thing before. Among them, Gumantung from Nanyang is very famous. Gumantung is also known as the Golden Boy or the Buddha Boy. It is an existence that can bring good luck to people, but at the same time, it can also backfire on its owner. This is like a double-edged sword, little devil. It can indeed bring you a lot of benefits, money, power, beauty, but it will also consume your blood essence and make you die without a burial place. Where did Fen Yingying get this little ghost tablet in front of her? I stretched out my hand, just about to touch the tablet, when a strong wind blew through the dormitory, making the balcony bed curtains rustle. I was slightly startled. This kid was threatening me. A sneer curled up at the corner of my mouth. This kid actually dared to threaten me. However, it is impossible for the little ghost to come out during the day and must wait until night. I came to the room from the balcony, and Principal He hurriedly greeted me and asked anxiously, "Master Lu, what on earth is going on?" The unknown sinister wind just now made him feel very panicked, and he always felt like there was a pair of eyes staring at him secretly. I said, "There is indeed a little devil in this cuddle. When I come and kill it at night, nothing will happen after that." Principal He thanked me profusely. Afterwards, we left the dormitory building. At this time, my phone suddenly rang. I picked it up and saw that it was Zhang Xiai. 11, what's the matter? Lu Su, I predicted something. Fen Yingying's matter is far from as simple as we imagined. Hearing this, I frowned and said, "What did you predict?" Zhang Xiai was silent for a moment and replied, "I saw some pictures using the way our credit line predicts the future. They are very blurry. There is a space full of corpses underground at Tianfu City University. It is very dangerous there." The underground space full of corpses, I immediately thought of one thing. I looked at President He and asked, "Principal He, does your school have a medical school? Is there a cadaver below the medical school?" Principal He was stunned for a moment, then nodded and replied, "Yes, but the charnel house has been sealed and has been abandoned for many years." I asked again, "Where are the bodies inside?" Principal He replied, "When the cadaver was sealed, we had already sent people to get it out." Got it out, it shouldn't be. Zhang Xiai's prediction is very accurate. Wait, I seem to have overlooked something. Corpse warehouse, corpses, places where corpses are raised everywhere. An idea quietly emerged in my mind. Tianfu University, could the abandoned corpse warehouse be the Taoist sect's second corpse raising ground? Thinking of this, I said to Principal He, "Principal He, please take me to the charnel house to take a look." Principal He nodded and hurriedly took me to the location of the cadaver. In the blink of an eye, I came to an abandoned building. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1233. This should be the old campus of the medical school. The building is dilapidated, the courtyard is overgrown with weeds, and it is blocked by a barbed wire fence. I didn't choose to go in and see what was going on. I just want to make sure this is a corpse place. I looked around and found that the feng shui here was normal and did not meet the conditions of a corpse raising ground. What is going on? Could it be that Zhang Xiai's prediction was wrong? The probability of Zhang Xiai's prediction being wrong is very small. After thinking about it again and again, I decided to find Fen Yingying's body first. I left the abandoned area of the medical school and returned to the campus. I said to Principal He, "I will catch that little devil tonight. In the meantime, I will just stroll around the school." Principal He nodded, patted his chest and promised that if you have anything to ask him, he will definitely help. Afterwards, Principal He left. Nadia and I wandered around the school. Along the way, the colorful butterflies attracted many people to watch. Because this little girl is so cute. Kadi is wearing a white princess dress. She has a petite figure and fair and pink skin. Especially her long and colorful hair with gradient colors makes her more agile and playful. Wow wow wow. So cute. It's so cute. Can I take a photo with her? Countless female college students surrounded Cai Dai and me, clamoring for a photo. Kadi smiled playfully and ran to take photos with the female college students. This guy seems to like being around girls. Seeing that the time was almost up, I gathered the colorful butterflies back. Lusu. What are you doing? I haven't had enough fun yet. Kadi held a lot of snacks, which were given to her by the female college students who took the photo. I originally wanted to tell her not to accept things from strangers. However, after thinking about it, the colorful butterfly was invulnerable to all poisons, and even if it was tampered with in the food, it would have no effect on her. I rolled my eyes and said, "Whenever, I will take you to dye your colored hair black." When Cai Dai heard this, she looked at me with wide eyes and said, "I don't want it. This hair is my lifeblood. If you touch it, I will fight you to the death." Kadi looked at me angrily, almost scratching me with her hands. I smiled and said, "Just kidding. This joke is not funny at all." Kadi hugged the snacks and angrily threw me behind her. Time passed by minute, and soon it was evening. Kadi and I were sitting in front of the girls' dormitory building, and she had a lollipop in her mouth. I don't know why, but the way Kadi holds a lollipop in her mouth is very social, just like a social little girl holding a cigarette. Can you please pay attention to the impact? I stretched out my hand and pulled the hem of Nadia's skirt to cover her thighs. This girl's sitting posture was so carefree that it was only a matter of time before she was exposed. Cai Dai raised her head, looked at me, and asked, "Lusu, when will you and Master Tianqian have a baby?" I coughed awkwardly and said, "Why do you ask so many questions, little brat? I'm not young anymore. I'm thousands of years old. You hurry up and have a child with Master Tianqian, and I will be his teacher then." I waved my hands repeatedly and said, "Don't, I'm afraid you'll lead him astray." Humph, Cai Dai snorted softly and said with some dissatisfaction, "No good words can come out of your mouth." Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1234. I hope your and Master Tianxuan's child will be a girl. I asked doubtfully, "Why?" Cai Dai replied seriously, "Because if a boy is a boy, he will be like you, and if a girl is a girl, she will be like Master Tianqian." I was speechless for a moment. Why was I so dumb? I said, "Haven't you heard that sentence? A son is like his mother, who builds a wall with gold bricks, a daughter is like me, who wears a leather jacket from behind. Besides, this is between me and Tianqian, right? What are you worrying about on this side?" Cai Dai rolled her eyes and replied, "I'm happy." Soon, the time came to 11 o'clock in the evening. I looked up at the girls' dormitory building and placed my gaze on the balcony of Fen Yingying's dormitory on the 4th floor. The moonlight was like water, gently shining down, just lighting up the balcony. Just when I was about to look away, a figure suddenly flashed past. I was slightly startled, and when I looked carefully, I saw a figure standing on the balcony, dancing gracefully. Because the distance was too far, I could only see an outline, which looked very much like Fen Yingying in the surveillance picture. The man's dancing posture was a little stiff and weird, as if he was performing some kind of summoning ritual. I stood up suddenly and said to Cai Dai, "Here we come." Kadi was dozing off on my shoulder. When she heard my words, she woke up suddenly and asked, "What's coming?" I ignored her and ran towards the dormitory building. "Principal," he said hello to the dormitory superintendent, and the dormitory superintendent's mother didn't stop him when she saw him. I ran towards the 4th floor. It is now 11 o'clock in the evening, and the entire dormitory building is very quiet. Logically speaking, it is normal for college students to stay up late and so on. Even at 11 o'clock in the middle of the night, the dormitory building will be very lively. However, the dormitory building is particularly deserted tonight, presumably because of the panic caused by Fen Yingying's incident. I soon arrived at the 4th floor. The voice-activated lights in the 4th floor corridor seemed to be broken, and only the green warning sign for the safe passage was emitting a faint green light, which looked very strange. I came to Fen Yingying's dormitory and was about to open the door, but found that no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't open the door. I frowned, pinched the evil breaking curse, turned it into a palm, and hit it on the wooden door. I heard a muffled sound and the dormitory door was opened by me. The moment the dormitory door opened, the cold wind poured out, making me unable to open my eyes. I entered it and heard the sound of bed curtains rustling in my ears. Then, I saw a figure on the balcony. At this moment, the moonlight shone impartially on that person, and I could see clearly that person's appearance through the moonlight. Sure enough, it's Fen Yingying. Fen Yingying's face was pale, her eye sockets were sunken and black, and there was a look of death between her brows. She closed her eyes tightly, without any expression on her face. And on her shoulder, there was a pale little ghost lying on her shoulder. The kid is a boy, somewhat similar to Toshio from the movie The Grudge. Roar. The kid growled at me, threatening me not to come near. I can't do anything about him during the day because I can't find him, but now at night, I can't stand him if I can't. I picked up the Thunder Jew and moved closer to the little devil. The kid looked horrified when he saw the Thunder Jew in my hand. He controlled Fen Yingying to retreat continuously, and finally stood on the balcony guard rail. Don't come over. Otherwise I'll jump down with her. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1235. I looked at the kid coldly and said, "Whatever you want." As soon as these words came out, the kid lost his composure completely, his facial features were distorted, the expression on his face was struggling and crazy, and the eyes he looked at me were full of viciousness and resentment. Then I'll kill her. The kid controlled Fen Yingying to jump off the balcony. My expression condensed and I used Nine Eyes Heavenly Domain. The Nine Eyes Heaven realm unfolded, and the kid instantly lost all movement and Fen Yingying stood upright on the balcony. This kid is very weak, probably because he was just born. In the Nine Eyes Heaven realm, I can control everything. The premise is that the opponent's strength is weaker than mine. Obviously, this kid can't break free from the shackles of the Nine Eyes Heaven realm. I disappeared instantly, and when I reappeared, I was already in front of the kid. Without any hesitation, I raised the Thunder Jew in my hand and struck the kid. In an instant, lightning flashed and thunder bursts. Ah! The kid wailed and was blown away by me. I took this opportunity and quickly pulled Fen Yingying back to the balcony. I looked at the falling kid, stretched out my hand, and moved it to the balcony. I didn't expect that the double thunder technique could not kill a newly born kid. It can be seen that this little devil is extraordinary. I retracted my Nine Eyes of Heaven and looked at the kid coldly. At this moment, a black shadow suddenly flashed in front of his eyes. I was slightly startled and looked at the kid. There was no trace of the kid anywhere. I looked around and saw no trace of the black shadow. What was that black shadow just now? A bad ghost? Probably not. If it was a ghost, I would be able to detect it immediately. It was probably some kind of witchcraft, and someone took the little devil away. Who is the one? The word Daoman came to my mind. Could it be that those from the Taoist sect did it? After thinking about it again and again, I couldn't come up with a reason. I had no choice but to check on Fen Yingying first. Fen Yingying was lying on the ground, her face still so pale. The yang energy in her body was extremely weak, and her vitality was fading rapidly. I guess he was sucked dry of yang energy and blood essence by that little devil. After some inspection, Fen Yingying's 3 souls and 7 souls were indeed not in her body. Cai Dai hurriedly stepped forward, opened Fen Yingying's eyes, and said, her soul was indeed lost in the dream. The only way to wake her up is to fall asleep. I nodded, carried Fen Yingying on my back and left the girls' dormitory building. It would be dangerous to fall asleep in the girls' dormitory. Who knows what might happen? I brought Fen Yingying back to Ji Yuntang and notified Fen Minghai. Fen Minghai rushed over in a hurry. When he saw his daughter unconscious, he cried heartbrokenly. It seems that Fen Minghai cares about this daughter very much. He kept begging me to cure his daughter, and even knelt down to me. I helped her up and said, don't panic, since I brought your daughter back, I will definitely rescue her. Fen Minghai nodded repeatedly. I said to Kaidi, how should we fall asleep? Cai Dai said, leave this matter to me. But you have to ensure the safety of your body. I nodded, contacted Zhang Xiai, and told him about my dream. Zhang Xiai patted his chest and promised that he would definitely protect my body. Xiahe and Jins also said they would watch from the side. After the arrangements were made, I took Fen Yingying to a room and prepared to fall asleep. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1236. Kaidi said to me, Lu Su, after you fall asleep, I will take you to see Sister Tianqian first. I was stunned and asked, why? Kaidi thought for a while and said, Fen Yingying's soul is lost in the abyss of dreams. In dreams, I am the only one who can travel freely. If I take you with me, it will be a little difficult, so I will take you to find Sister Tianqian first. After I find Fen Yingying's soul, I will come back to you. I looked at Cai Dai with some worry and asked, can you do it alone? Cai Dai puffed up her chest and said to me, of course. Although there are nightmares in the dream, I'm not jealous. If I can't beat you, why don't I run away? Seeing that Cai Dai was so confident, I nodded. I was a little excited when I thought that I would see Su Tianqian soon. Kaidi came to Fen Yingying, took out a needle and pricked Fen Yingying's index finger, and then wiped Fen Yingying's blood on her eyebrows. Then Cai Dai told me to lie down. I was lying on the bed, Cai Dai was making secrets with her hands and mumbling words. The next moment, a beam of colorful light filled the entire room. I was very energetic at first, but after being illuminated by this beam of colorful light, my consciousness began to blur, and then I fell into a deep sleep. When I regained consciousness again, I was in a gray world. Looking around, there are mountains and rivers, and colorful butterflies are standing next to me. Dreamland, this is not the first time I have come here. In fact, there is not much difference between dreams and the real world. It is completely a microcosm of the real world, except that there are no living people in this world, only nightmares and countless dreams. Kaidi said to me, it's up to you now. Rely on me. I asked with some confusion. Kaidi nodded and replied, you can feel where Sister Tianxian's dream is by relying on Xinwen, because this is the only connection between the two of you. I looked at the word Xian in my palm, then closed my eyes and began to feel where Su Tianqian was. I don't know how long it took, but I finally felt it. I pointed in one direction and said, over there. Kaidi quickly took my hand and rushed in the direction I pointed. Along the way, we encountered nightmares big and small. Nightmares are monsters in dreams. They come in all shapes, but most of them are the same as evil spirits. I asked with some confusion, how do nightmares form? Cai Dai explained, nightmares are fears that come from people's hearts. To put it simply, evil spirits in the real world will also be encountered here. After some people die, not only will they go to hell, but some people's souls will come here. But most of those souls are nourishment for nightmares. I roughly understand that, to put it simply, whether it is a dream or a nightmare, it is a replica of the real world. There are things in the real world, and there are things here as well, but this is a paradise for evil spirits and a forbidden land for living people. I asked again, how big is this dream? Cai pondered for a moment and explained, it's very big, because dreams have existed since the birth of this world. Countless small dreams gathered into one big dream, and the big dream slowly evolved into the current world. Here, we can enter the dreams of living or dead people. Living people can still understand, but if people are dead, how can they still dream? Sky Coffin. Author, Ching Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1237. Kadi looked at me with disdain and said, Lu Su, I find that you are really stupid. After a person dies, the dreams he once had still exist. Moreover, dreams are a reflection of memory. Rather than being a dream, it is more like a peek into a person's deepest memory. Everyone's dreams will turn into small balls of light that linger in this world. However, these small balls of light will be eaten by nightmares. Once eaten by nightmares, that person's dreams and memories will be completely lost. It dawned on me. Peeping into memories, then wouldn't it be possible for me to peep into the memories of my other lives? I expressed my thoughts. Cai Dai replied, theoretically it is possible, but, it is difficult to find a dream that is too long, and it may be eaten by nightmares, so don't hold on to this idea. Also, the dreams of living people will not appear in this world. Only after death will their memories appear here as small balls of light. As for Sister Tianqian, she had a way to fall into a dream and come to this world. I sighed slightly, it seemed that I was a little too whimsical. I asked another very crucial question, since the soul can come in, what about the body? Cai Dai stopped, looked at me, and replied, the physical body can also come in. Whether it is a human, a ghost, a demon, or even a god, as long as you are strong enough, you can enter here. Okay, I have a general idea of the world. Kaidi pouted and said, I'm going to see Sister Tianqian soon, and you're still here asking questions. I don't think you miss Sister Tianqian at all. I rolled my eyes and said, my wife, can I not think about it? Cai Dai showed disgust, then pretended to retching and said, you are really disgusting. As we move forward, the words in my palms become hotter and hotter. I know that Su Tianqian is waiting for me not far away. When we encountered nightmares along the way, Cai Dai and I avoided them because there was no need to conflict with these guys. Our goal is to find Fen Yingying. At this moment, I suddenly saw a bright light not far away. I felt happy, quickened my pace, and ran quickly towards the light. When I looked closer, I saw a small ball of light floating in the air. I glanced at the text in my hand. The heart text flickered with a faint light, and I said to Kaidi, that's it, how do I enter Tianxuan's dream? Cai Dai replied, you just need to touch her directly. You and Master Tianqian have a close relationship and are the two closest people. She will not put up a defense against you. I nodded, looked at Cai Dai and told me, you must pay attention to safety and don't force yourself. If you encounter any danger, you must notify me as soon as possible. Kadi stretched out her hand and pushed me and said, oh. Why are you nagging like an old woman? Don't worry about me. I will come to you when I find Fen Yingying's soul. This little girl cares about her and makes mistakes. You must remember my words. Cai Dai nodded and said, go quickly. I took a deep breath, stretched out my hand, and gently touched the small ball of light. Then, my eyes went dark, and a huge suction force sucked me into the ball of light. When I woke up again, I was already in Su Tianxuan's house. In a dream. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1238. After the darkness in front of me disappeared, I was surprised to find that I was on the street where Ji Yuntang was located. Here, it's not night, but day. The firstborn sunlight in the morning shone on my body, making it warm and comfortable. I walked in the direction of Ji Yuntang. As I walked, a familiar figure caught my eye. I stopped where I was and looked at her quietly. The morning sun shone on her body, like a gentle veil gently covering her body. She was still incredibly beautiful. Wherever she stood, it was like the most beautiful scenery in the world. Su Tianqian was also looking at me, her star-like eyes sparkling with crystal light, her red lips lightly parted, and she said slowly, "How long are you going to stand there?" I ran towards her quickly. "Tianqian!" I called softly. The corners of Su Tianxuan's mouth were slightly raised, his eyes were like autumn water, and there was only a gentle look between his brows. Still so stupid. Just when I was in a daze and didn't know what to do, Su Tianqian actually stepped forward, stretched out his hands and hugged me gently, put his face on my chest, and whispered softly, "I miss you so much." I gently rested my chin on Su Tianxuan's shoulder and whispered in her ear, "Me too." Neither of us spoke, we just held each other. Although it is a dream, it is as if it is reality. Whether it is the touch or the fragrance on Su Tianxuan's body, it is so real. After a while, she raised her head and said, "Go home first." Home. I looked towards Ji Yuntang. Yes, this is home for both of us. Su Tianqian and I entered Ji Yun Hall. The Ji Yuntang here is no different from the real world. Su Tianqian and I are sitting at the Eight Immortals table. I opened my mouth, but I didn't know what to say. I clearly miss her, but after seeing her, I don't know how to talk about it. Seeing my embarrassed look, Su Tianqian chuckled and said playfully, "What? You haven't seen me for a while, so you don't know what to say." I scratched my head awkwardly and said, "Yeah, I have a lot to say, but I don't know where to start." Su Tianqian smiled brightly and said, "Speak slowly, don't be in a hurry." I first asked the question I was most concerned about, which was the matter of inheritance. "Don't worry, the inheritance is going smoothly, but it may take some time for me to return to you." Hearing these words, the stone hanging in my heart finally fell. Did they make things difficult for you after I entered the bottom of Yaokai? I told Su Tianqian everything that happened next. After Su Tianqian heard this, a cold light flashed in her eyes, and she said coldly, "I have written down this account, and I will definitely make them pay the price if I have the chance." I smiled and said, "You are still the same as before." Su Tianqian asked in confusion, "What is the same?" "Protect me the same way." Su Tianqian was startled for a moment, then his eyes dodged a little, and he said hesitantly, I just feel that they are too bullying, so I want to vent your anger on you." I suddenly stretched out my hand and took her jade hand. Su Tianqian was startled, then raised his eyes and looked at me. I said, "Don't you want to know what happened to me during this time?" Su Tianqian nodded and said, "I think so." I told her exactly what happened when I came back from Kunlun Mountain. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1239. After hearing this, Su Tianqian fell into deep thought. After a while, he raised his head and said to me, "Xiao Su, you have to be careful about the Taoist door. They are more difficult to deal with than you think." Grandpa Linlong also spent a lot of effort to severely damage the Taoist section. Moreover, there are many heretical people in the Taoist sect, and some of the techniques are extremely vicious. If I were by your side, I can still help you some, but now. Su Tianqian sighed slightly. I raised the corner of my mouth and said, I haven't paid much attention to this small Taoist door. After hearing this, Su Tianqian rolled his eyes and said, look at how awesome you are. I chuckled, and suddenly stretched out my hand to take Su Tian into my arms, but Su Tianqian stepped back a little cautiously and asked, what are you going to do? Tianqian, we are an old married couple, right? Why are you so shy every time? There were two blushes on Su Tianxuan's face, his ears were hot, and a little pink appeared on his fair neck. You're just talking nonsense. Who are you and me? Don't just rely on me liking you to do whatever you want. I coughed softly and said slowly, he is so irritating. I just want to turn around and leave. Ha! Su Tianqian tilted his head and looked at me inexplicably. This little movement looked very cute. I continued, Xiao Su cooked for me today. Although it is not very delicious, I am still quite touched. Xiao Su left Ji Yuntang again, and I was worried, but in order for him to grow up as quickly as possible, all I can do is wait for him to come back, but, I am really worried. Su Tianqian finally noticed something was wrong. She stood up suddenly, pointed at me and said coquettishly, Lu Su, you actually peeked at my diary. I ignored her and continued, however, if you think about it carefully, I don't know where to start. Xiao Su's position in my heart surpasses everything, even my own life. I really want to have a family with Xiao Su. Although I have had this idea before, it is especially strong this time. I think, I am trapped. Su Tianqian was so ashamed that she wanted to find a crack in the ground and crawl in. After all, there were words in that diary that she didn't dare to say to me. But now that I read it out, it feels like a social death scene. Ah! Stop talking. Su Tianqian turned around angrily and walked towards the second floor. I was stunned. No way, are you really angry? I quickly chased after her and saw Su Tianqian returning to her bedroom and closing the door heavily. Is it too much fun? I came to the door and turned the doorknob, only to find that Su Tianqian had locked the door. I quickly knocked on the door and shouted, Tianqian, are you angry? Su Tianqian ignored me. Could it be that he was really angry? After finally meeting her, I actually made her angry. Tianqian, open the door, I know it was wrong. I shouldn't have peeked into your diary. No matter how I called, Su Tianqian ignored me. After about a few minutes, the door creaked open, and half of Su Tianxuan's face came into view. The expression on her face was very cold. Tianqian. Su Tianqian asked, you know you are wrong. I nodded and said, I understand. Do you dare to do this to me next time? Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1240. Just as I was about to answer, I saw a cunning look flash in Su Tianxuan's eyes. I was stunned for a moment and replied, I'll dare you next time. This time it was Su Tianxuan's turn to be stunned. Xiao Su. I'm angry. You still provoke me. I looked at her with a smile, stepped forward, put my arms around her slender, soft, and smooth waist, then lowered my head and pressed my forehead against hers. Su Tianqian avoided looking at me, so I said, if I didn't peek at your diary, how would I know that you wrote so many disgusting words to me? Su Tianqian was not angry at all, she just wanted to regain some initiative from me. I didn't. Then you don't want me to say more disgusting things to you. Don't. Su Tianqian said quickly. Then are you still angry? I asked. Su Tianqian raised his head, full of grievance, it's like this every time, and you don't know how to let me go. I smiled and said, but I just like to see you shy. Su Tianqian rolled his eyes and said, what kind of bad taste are you talking about? She pulled me into the room, and I sat on the bed. Su Tianqian took out the diary and said, I wouldn't have written it if I had known better. In the dream,
Everything in Jiyuntang is available here, but this is Su Tianxuan's memory. As for the articles I wrote later in my diary, Su Tianxian did not know about them, so they would not appear in my dreams. She sat next to me, leaned her head on my shoulder, and suddenly asked, "Xiao Su, you don't know how much I miss you during this time. I can feel it." Su Tianxian shook his head and replied, "You can't feel it? Then why don't you let me feel it?" Su Tianxian hesitated and said, "Then close your eyes." I obeyed and closed my eyes. The next moment, I felt my shoulders being grabbed by Su Tianxian, and the fragrance filled my nose. Then, I felt a warmth coming from my lips. I opened my eyes and saw that Su Tianxian had twisted his body to one side. I shook my head helplessly and smiled bitterly, pulled her into my arms and said, "Then I will let you know how much I miss you." The atmosphere instantly became a little ambiguous. Without any hesitation, I kissed Su Tianxuan's red lips. After a long time, the lips parted. Su Tianxian buried her head in my arms with a blushing face, and whispered softly, "If I had known that you were so bad before, I would not have accepted you as my disciple." "Then you're not afraid of missing me?" Su Tianxian shook his head and replied, "Don't be afraid. Two people who are destined to meet will meet again no matter what the reason is. They will meet again now and in the future. No matter what you become in the future or what choices you make. I believe that as long as I am willing to wait, you will come back. If it doesn't work in one life, then I will continue to wait in the next life, until I wait for you." I looked at Su Tianxuan's beautiful face and didn't know what to say for a moment. I always felt that her words meant something else. I hesitated for a while and asked, "Do you think we won't be together in the end?" Su Tianxian shook his head slightly and replied, "I believe it." Later, Su Tianxian and I started chatting. She and I seemed to have endless topics to talk about. She was obviously a person who was not good at expressing herself, but she had so many words when facing me.